Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This Friday evening talk with Amit was quite popular for some time, but because of some reasons, we had to discontinue it for almost 3 months now. But then all good things come back. So we are back. And today on our show, we have Amit as usual, and we have Dr. Valentina Onisar, and we will be introducing them shortly. But during this show, we will be talking about a few more things that can be very nice, that can be very useful, so to speak, to whoever is watching this. First of them is that Dr. Goswami and Dr. Onisar both are prolific writers. So they have come up with something extraordinarily exciting for everyone. But before I say what is that, let us introduce first with Dr. Goswami. If we can have Dr. Goswami on the screen, please. Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hope the temperature is bearable in Kolkata.
Yes, it's a bit
Great,
hot.
great. Okay, okay. So, and Dr. Onisar? Hello, Dr. Onisar. How are you?
Hello. Very good. Wonderful. Happy to be here.
Great. Just to reiterate, Dr. Onisar is a medical doctor, and she has been working in the fields of integrative medicine and healing for closely 2 decades now. And that's a lot of time. And because of her abilities as a healer, as a physician, she has made extraordinary contribution to the work of quantum activism so far, and we look forward to her continued work on this field. And we, people at large, are mostly interested in getting healed if we have a problem. And Dr. Onisar has been charismatic in that regard. Thank you so much, Dr. Onisar. Well, now that the two main protagonists are introduced, let us talk about their creation. Well, they have come up with a book which is already published called The Quantum Brain. Now, if you look at brain is something of a mystery to most people. There are various uh, people talking various types of theories about how brain works. However, there are always shortcomings. What Dr. Anisar and Dr. Goswami has done from their own perspective is to come out with a theory of brain which actually encapsulates how the thing works, and more importantly, how it can work for you, the reader. It is not just theory, it is about how best we can use this instrument to our bigger advantage, and find out, you know, what all we can achieve if this instrument is properly tuned. In fact, if we look at, there are various interesting things in this book that tells you how to tame your brain. Now, this is something important considering the fact it is a part of my body, part of everybody's body. But why is it so difficult to tame the brain? Why someone has to write a book to explain why to tame the brain? Why don't we take this question and hear it from the horse's mouth? So, can we have Dr. Goswami on the screen, please?
Hello, everyone.
Yes. So, Dr. Goswami, the question is very fundamental. What made you write this book and start it with something like taming the brain?
Well, look at the human condition. We have an enormous amount of me centeredness, a tendency to be very shallow and process only information. We don't think meaning and purposeful things anymore, but our brain is partly responsible for it. And on top of it, brain has negative emotional brain circuits. Well, it has some compensating pleasure circuits as well, which does bring some positivity in our life, but 5 times more negativity than positivity. Go figure. So, how do you combat, fight back from this situation? We need to train the brain. If we allow the brain to run you, namely, if you live your conditioned life, you are stuck. And quantum science is showing that no, you don't have to. Your consciousness is real. Your free will is real, except at the constricted consciousness that we usually live, it is very, very limited. It's almost predictable. It's almost like a robotic brain. Neuroscientists of the materialist ilk, they call us robots with experience. Most people almost live that way. But of course, they don't have to. And this is what the purport of the book is. We show how the brain works, and by understanding how the brain works, how the brain is conscious, we bring consciousness to the brain. We are the author of how our brain should be. Yes, evolution made it in a certain way, but we can change the brain by making new neuronal connections in the brain, something that is called rewiring the brain. But rewiring the brain by conditioned stuff will not do. Rewiring the brain by creativity. And here is the importance of quantum brain. Without the quantum brain, we cannot have creativity. Now people argue, how can the brain be quantum? Well, the theories that have been proposed for the quantum brain up till now, they can be objected against, they are all defective. But we now have found the right theory, and right theory has been verified. It's based on the primacy of consciousness, and everything about the brain is explained. How we arrive at the human condition is explained, and now we have the recipes of changing the brain, taming the brain, making it more creative, making it more happy, intelligent. It's all a matter of you waking up to your creative potential.
Well, I have a follow-up question about this. That is, you spoke about the creative potential. Could you elaborate on this a little, please?
So, of course, creativity comes to us in terms of generally new meaning and new feeling. Feeling plus meaning gives us emotion, so it comes to us as new possibilities of making new emotions, especially what we lack. We have lots of negative emotional brain circuits in the midbrain. Evolution gave us that. And we cannot control these negative emotions with thinking alone, like many rational people think. That just does not work. The key of positive emotion is in the body, in the heart, in the navel chakra. Chakra is the name that Easterners give to the centers of feeling in the body. And these two centers, heart and the navel, are the major centers, except, of course, the brain center right here at the brow chakra. Now, the brain does its job of thinking in a very traditional way, conditioned thinking. When we make our life purposeful, when we creatively approach what we call the archetypes, they are the new contexts of thinking and feeling that makes our life and re-enchanted. This enchantment have to be engaged with. What makes us alive? What makes us vital? What makes us fulfill our dreams about who we want to be? Loving, happy, just, truthful, whole, all these things. And the key is in creativity. So we make positive emotional brain circuit, we balance the negativity, and we take off from there. The future is infinite, full of infinite potentiality. Why are you shortchanging yourself, not living this quantum brain? This is the message.
Thank you so much. Now, getting back to the book, this book is now available on most of the online channels, including Amazon. and people from all over the world can purchase this. Shortly, it will be available globally as well as a link. And if we look at this book, so this is the book all about. If you look at the screen, this is the essence of the book. Now, most of the time, people read a book with a thought that what is in it in for what it's in it for me. Now, this is a clear message of what you are going to get if you read this book. Now, each one of these points are very critical in our day to day lives. These are not just academic, they are very practical in nature. They can be used, and used properly, they can bring us as individuals huge dividends. So, I would request you to look at the book, go to the website, look for yourself whether this is right for you, and then if you think this can help you, go and purchase it. But there is another point I want to make before we move on to the next subject, and this time it is Dr. Onisar whom I would like to address. So, Dr. Onisar, if you can be on the screen, please. You are a medical doctor and you have a unique position because of this. Now, what we hear, there is a pandemic going on, we all know, but there are other pandemics also, which are silent but even deadlier killers that can inflict even more pain than what is being witnessed all over the world. And they are not just a periodic thing, touch and go. They are here for a long time. And unless we can do something about it, they are going to be here for even longer. I'm talking about the degenerative brain diseases. Because if you are talking about brain and degenerative brain diseases, as I understand, it's an impact on the brain tissue itself. So, what would be your take on such things like Alzheimer's and this stuff?
Indeed. Yes, Keshano. And of course, you know very well what's happening in these times, and they are not going to end probably very soon. And it is, of course, a matter of responsibility, but also the more we learn about the base human level condition, that first of all, if you look at it, then you also really ask yourself questions what to do about that. And yes, I had the patients and students I worked with on the problems you mentioned, and also I could see how they develop, and also how actually it can be very much helped. So quantum medicine practice is a preventive practice. Yeah, I have to emphasize that. And if you think of child rearing practices, they are grossly wrong, being based on outdated theories of the brain. And if we use the ideas of the quantum brain to grow a child, hyperactivity, for example, can easily be prevented. And again, I have to go a little bit on the imperfection of the universal software that influences how we grow our individual personal software that we need to tame. We say taming the brain, yeah? And it is possible, taming also the mind, the hyperactive, the monkey mind, how it's called. So there are 4 major imperfections that define this base level human condition. So one is machine-like information processing tendency. You see what's happening today. We are so locked on the news, on the computers only. We move from here and there all the time. Then it's the me-centeredness, then the negative emotional brain circuits, and then the pleasure-centeredness. These are the main tendencies, which are also barriers to our creative exploration of archetypes and also towards healing, quantum healing, which implies to apply the creativity, the creative process, rather than only counting on what is called the divine grace, which is there, of course, and without the divine grace, you cannot speak about those leaps of healing, yeah? But again, they are totally possible. And so during the development of the human being from childhood to adulthood, these barriers to creativity and access to consciousness, they lead to the development of previously mentioned brain-mind doshas, yeah? Dumbing down, yeah, for example, it's likely a contributing cause for autism. Hyperactivity leads to the pathological condition of attention deficit hyperactive disorder, or ADHD. And too much intellectualism can lead to depression and other pathology. So, of course, the negative emotional brain circuits can produce emotional stress. And this combined with this dosha of hyperactivity is leading to emotion expression and also cause heart disease, for example. Emotional stress, again, is suppressed by intellectuals and it produces immune system malfunction. And that can lead to both cancer and heart disease and even Alzheimer's disease, what you mentioned, when you recognize it as an autoimmune disease. Okay, so we'll discuss more in extensive in the future book called Quantum Integrative Medicine. But we also discuss in this book about the prevention of some of these pathologies, which start, many of them, during child development, and how addiction can be prevented with proper child development. But again, addiction is of so many kinds. And the point is that we can, no matter where we are, we can truly start right now. And just becoming aware of what's happening and then engaging consciously, deciding, putting your willpower in action to find and live your life with love and with meaning. Because when it's too much information processing, you're losing the meaning of things. It's very easy to do that nowadays. So about Alzheimer, there is a theory that is gaining traction, that the Alzheimer's disease is an autoimmune disease. Yeah, and we did extensive research, we continue to do on this subject, and we saw that more and more people manifest it, even at younger and younger age. And the point is, in this disease, that the immune system malfunctions and starts attacking its own body cells. That is the main idea. But one suspects that this disease might happen to people even when their immune system is okay. Yeah. So the alternative is that some cells may become unrecognizable to the immune system as belonging to the body, in which case it will attack. But what is it that makes brain cells unrecognizable to the immune system? And then the quantum science here gives a hint. The purpose of a neuron in the neocortex is to help consciousness process meaning in all people, yeah? And purpose for people who are more awake. Let's say people who usually process only information and never any meaning or purpose, they are in danger of effectively losing this so-called identity card with their immune system. All right, and then you may ask, how does the immune system identify a cell in the body as a cell belonging to me? So it's early on, for every cell in the body, the immune system leaves a marker, an identity card, so to speak. And similar how the antibody works in response to any bacterial or virus attack that you hear about. So again, read what we wrote about that, and also later on in this future book, which I recommended. Now, just a few words about autism, because it's a short talk today. So, of course, you know that autism is increasing more and more. You will find numbers in the book. And it's kind of about 100,000 Canadians, for example, they have an autistic or other developmental disorder, okay? And statistics from schools, yeah, they are described there in various states, which show an average increase in autism cases of 63% over the last 2 years, yeah? And it's again, the increase is there. And the answer appears invisible only because it's too close for us to recognize this. It happens with so many things. The answer is just right in front of our nose, yeah? And you know, of course, there are so many questions about that. So many researchers which flatly declare that autism is a disorder of development, which is characterized by impairment in interpersonal and social interaction and communication, along with rigidly repetitive and purposeless behaviors, such as tics, for example, you know? But it's more than that. For example, some neuroscientists are prone still to consider autism to be a genetic predisposition, which, yeah. And also they attribute the lack of social ability to the lack of mirror neurons. All right, it's a lot of research, and I would recommend you to study Dr. Gabor Mate's work. Just Google Gabor Mate. He's doing a great work on this subject. But so the autism is a whole spectrum of disorders, but the essential quality of it is the emotional disconnect. Okay, so these children are living in a mind of their own. They don't respond appropriately to emotional cues, and they withdraw. So they might act out in an aggressive and sometimes unpredictable fashion. they don't know how to associate with others. There are many characteristics. I cannot go now into everything you'll find in the book. So, or anyway, whatever is going on, it cannot be some genetic problem, because genes don't change in a population over 10, 20, 30 years, or even 300 years. So whatever is going on is not genetically determined. It may be biologically, but it's not genetic, because we cannot reduce biology down to genetics. There are also development and epigenetics, of course. So we think it's a matter of connection rather than mirror neurons that is lacking in autistic children. On the neuroanatomical level, the brains of children with autism have reduced connections between important emotional centers and other brain regions. And psychologically, the autistic child lives in a world of his own, largely isolated from emotional contact with those who love him. Yeah? And such disconnect, though to lesser degrees, is also a feature of the many other development disorders, which are now affecting number of children, including Asperger's syndrome, Tourette's, and attention deficit disorders. Yeah, and we all know the frustration, even rage, that we can experience when we make a phone call, and instead of getting a responsive human being, you're getting a mechanical recorded menu, right? Okay, and the question is to learn how this disconnect happen, and kind of it's because of the time I cannot go into that, but read in the book and also in the future book about in medicine. Just I would recommend to take a look at what's happening with the mother, mainly with the mother, and mainly in the last semesters, when she's pregnant, the last semesters. See what's happening there, because we found that these cases of disconnection, which appear in these children, manifest also because the mother lives a state of increased depression or anxiety. Such things are in study now, and it's a lot of work on this area. And actually, we are also in work with the whole. How to say? We want to create a platform which can support mothers which are in this situation, and it will be an international project. And of course, we will send this information when it's ready, so that we can offer such support to mothers. Of course, it will be a very complex process, but this may be the key. Because kind of throughout human evolution, children have been reared in the context of strong emotional relationships in what may be called the attachment village. Yeah? And tribes, clans, villages, communities, neighborhoods, and the clasp of extended families in the past, the children were assured of the nurturing influences which are needed for a healthy brain development. Okay, and this emotional nexus is with catastrophic rapidity disappearing from our lives. Yeah, tribes, clans, villages, communities are things of the past. So we are less and less connected to our neighbors, extended families, even to our own spouses. Okay. So just one last thing, as the physician Gabor Mate, which is one of my favorite physicians, is pointing out, the modern society's family structure of overworked parents and overlooked kids is an indication that it takes a village to raise a child model is extinct. Yeah? And there's a new theory for this autistic epidemic that harkens back to the refrigerator mother theory, that autism is caused by cold emotion withholding mothers. And the Albany Times Union reports that Dr. Mate believes that parental stress, especially the mothers, causes these development disabilities. All right, and then there's a whole theory, quantum theory of autist disconnect, which again you will find in this book. I just gave you a few hints, but this, of course, it's a very important development, which will eventually help us come through and transform and work through healing to these situations, which indeed they exist a lot. Yeah. Of course, there are other factors, traumas, but I don't think we have enough time to go into this and describe the ADHD process, but read the book. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anisa. That was a wonderful explanation on the subject. Now, when I started out, I said that there are two things which are good and which we'll be discussing other than the talk that we'll have with the participants today. First one is, of course, the book. But the second one is even bigger. If you look at this book or many other work that we do, are part of a larger work, which is the master's and PhD programs that we have. Now, let me tell you, most of us, when we do a degree program, whether it's a master's or a PhD, we do learn about a subject, we become masters into something, then we research and we find something new and we become PhDs. But this is something of a talking about a subject, let's say physics, chemistry, any other thing. But is there a master's and PhD where you are taught how to conduct your life in every way? That's a 360-degree proper conduct of your life, and how best to enjoy happiness and prosperity. You learn all that and get a degree too. Isn't it a little bit too much? If you think, well, both these things cannot be there, look at our website, amitgoswami.org. It is amitgoswami.org. You will find a tab called QAV there. Please click on that tab, and you will get to know about one of the best, arguably the best, practically useful master's and PhD program there. Look at the program, see whether you like it. There is an email ID, info@amitgoswami.org. If you think that you need more information, more details, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. The email ID is info@amitgoswami.org. Now, we have just about 5 minutes left, and I would like to use this 5 minutes to ask a quick question with Dr. Goswami, which might be hard. Dr. Goswami, can I have you on the screen? Are you up to a rapid fire question? Small one, small.
Absolutely.
I'm putting you, in a tough spot. I know how you work. All right. The question is simple: that we have been hearing about negativity and positivity quite a while. You, Valentina, both spoke about these things. And can you give us a very quick understanding of this negativity, positivity, or rather, can you share with our viewers a quick way in which positivity or the positive part of it can be enhanced?
Yes. Well, the brain has two very poignant components. One is the midbrain. In the midbrain, it's called amygdala. That has the negative emotional brain circuits. You know about it, the flight fight response. And then there are the pleasure circuits in the same area, around the same area. And those things gives us the other two F response, the 4F response, uh, flight, fight, feeding, and the fourth one you can guess. Okay, so these four responses come from the midbrain. First two from the amygdala, second two from the pleasure areas. In the neocortex, there is a competing area, which is ACC, anterior cingulate cortex. Now, this area actually is where we can make positive emotional brain circuit. How do we know? People who meditate, loving kindness, people who practice giving, people who practice forgiveness, people who literally develop ideas such as humility that help us expand our consciousness into relationship, people who can love, people who can suspend their defensiveness, they develop this positive emotional brain circuits. And what happens is remarkable. The brain scientists, through new techniques called functional magnetic resonance imaging, takes picture where you can tell which areas of the brain are active. And indeed, this amygdala and the ACC, anterior cingulate cortex, they play like a seesaw battle. So initially, when you are overloaded with negativity, then amygdala always wins. So you cannot help yourself acting negatively. Only later you feel sorry about it, but it's already done. You cannot undo it. And then when you meditate, be creative, follow the purposive notion, make new brain connections and develop these brain circuits, then ACC become loaded with positivity, and that's when we start winning the seesaw battle between the two areas. It's remarkable. So we are actually now experimentally able to demonstrate that it's not just words that we are saying. You follow the quantum healing techniques, you follow the quantum processes of emotional intelligence, look at the feelings in the body, develop the heart and the navel in a balanced way, other love and self love in a balanced way, you know, and these circuits of ACC can grow, which is a combination of meaning and these feelings in the heart and the navel, and that combination can combat the negativity just like a charm. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. We will be continuing such conversations in future, in the coming weeks, and we will be bringing in many new faces where we will be interacting on a range of subjects. And of course, Dr. Goswami is going to be with us, and he is going to throw his wisdom and remove the darkness. Fact of the matter is that Dr. Goswami is a fantastic storyteller. So maybe from the next episode on, I would keep a short storytelling session for him. And you love the stories. And every story, mind you, has a very good moral. And this is something is so easy to remember. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you again next week, same time on Friday, 9 p.m. IST. And don't forget the book and the course. Please visit www.amitgoswami.org. And if you have any questions, please get back to us on info@amitgoswami.org. Have a great day. Have a great night, wherever in which part of the world you are. Bye bye.